Awesome. Well, we are so excited that you're all here today, especially Lyle, our special guest. Um, just a little quick background on Shaping EDU, just to sort of same page with everyone. Shaping EDU is a community of dreamers and doers and drivers shaping the future of learning. We're organized under the auspices of ASU, Arizona State, but it's an open group of thousands of K-20 lifelong learning educators, learners, technologists, leaders, workers, industry partners, and more, all focusing around creating better futures for living and for learning. This project, as you may know, the Connecting for Work and Learning project emerged organically and really quickly out of an informal conversation we had last year about this time. And, we've been meeting and working regularly all around this guiding question of how can we as individuals and as a collaborative group move concretely towards universal broadband access and access to the tools, the practices and resources, and the systems of support needed to flourish in learning and at work. So that's what we've been up to. And I won't take up any more of our time. I'll hand it right over to Lisa.
Well, welcome. We have Lyle Ishida, and I reached out to you via FCC because we are watching everything that's going on with the FCC daily, because it seems like the website is constantly being updated with things. And we're just so thrilled with everything that Acting Chairwoman Jessica Rosenworcel is doing. We were just so thrilled that she was able to attend our, I believe it was March 7th or March 9th, whatever the Tuesday was, meeting. And we really feel like, okay, finally we have someone that really is interested in bringing forth an initiative that's so needed in our country. And so our main goal is to acquire universal broadband access for work and for learning. And we reached out again because we would like to do everything we can possibly do to support you, to support everything you're doing. So any advice you can give us or anything you would like us to do to help support that would be great. We also spend a lot of time doing research and just educating ourselves as to exactly what's being done. So I know you're going to tell us about the EBB and what's going on, and just keep us abreast of what today is happening, because things happen so differently. So with that, I will pass it over to you. And thank you so much for being here again, Lyle.
All right, thank you very much. And man, I am so excited to talk to this group. Not only because I'm coming in as sort of the cleanup act after Acting Chairwoman Rosenworcel. It's a really great place to be because she's like a great blocking back, right? In football, she softens the ground, and you've gotten a really good taste of our leadership, and so it makes it easier for me not having doubters. But separately, also we're so excited about the soon to be launch of the EBB, the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. So if I'm gonna just take a second just to share my screen. And let's go and start. All right, so I know that there may be some differing baselines of knowledge about what the EBB is, but generally speaking, let me kind of hurry past sort of the background part of it so we can talk about what's going on now, and more importantly, talk about what we can all do together to push the ball forward in terms of EBB and in a larger context, broadband deployment, which is one of Acting Chairwoman Rosenworcel's top priorities. So let's do the 5 W's about the EBB, the Emergency Broadband Benefit. So in short, it is a temporary program that's meant to address people who are low income or have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic economically. Um, it provides up to $50 a month off of broadband monthly fees, which include also part of like your modem rental if your provider requires you to do that. In Indian country, it's up to $75. And for providers who have opted in to an equipment program, it provides up to $100 off a laptop, a desktop, or tablet that's provided by the broadband provider if the consumer pitches in somewhere between $10 and $50. So there's a little bit of we give and you give sort of going on that piece of the program. So to qualify, any member of the household needs to hit one of these sort of marks. Received a Pell Grant in the current award year, or received free and reduced school lunch program or school breakfast program in the last school year, because this goes back to like February of 2020, or the current school year. Experience a substantial loss of income due to job loss and furlough, and focusing on job loss and furlough, by which later one of the things we want you to do as an applicant is to provide like a furlough notice or unemployment insurance, unemployment benefit sort of documentation, with a ceiling of $99,000 a year for single filers and $189,000 for joint filers, or meets the eligibility program of a provider's COVID-19 or low-income program. Low-income program could be like, and I'm not making an endorsement, I just, because people have heard their commercials, like the Internet Essentials program or something like that. So also, anyone who qualifies for Lifeline will qualify for the EBB. And I think, but don't know, are we all familiar with Lifeline? Low income program, yeah. So on the right-hand side of the deck, which I will forward to Lisa for everyone to be able to use, are the qualifying criteria for Lifeline as well. Also interesting to note, well, I got the Lifeline slide up here. EBB runs in parallel to Lifeline. They are not mutually exclusive. So for a low-income household, in Lifeline, they can have a second benefit on EBB, this temporary program, while it lasts. And so you can do a number of things with that program, with this sort of dual use program. You can apply them to your current bill up to when you hit 100% of the bill. So let's say you're with a internet broadband company and your bills, whatever, you got like $40 left on your bill that Lifeline doesn't cover. You're going to get 40. You don't get to keep the other $10 or whatever. Separately, you do not have to apply EBB to your Lifeline provider. So if you're on a Lifeline wired connection, there is any opportunity for you to go with a different carrier. Let's say it's a mobile carrier, to provide you the household with flexibility and sort of an opportunity to work with two different carriers simultaneously. So that's something I want you to put in your head for when I get down to the ask portion. At the back end of this conversation, we're going to ask for your great work in terms of socializing information down to the grassroots. So these are not personal, the EBB is not a personal benefit, it's a household benefit. Household, something that, like in the Lifeline context, can get confusing because the word is a general word, yet it has sort of specific meaning in the context of qualification for benefits. The real short answer is this. If you live together and you share money and you're in one dwelling, you're a household. But if you live, there's multiple people there and there are groups, like in apartment buildings, senior centers, or group homes or whatever, that don't share money, there may be in one physical structure more than one household. So we want to talk about, in terms of benefits and beneficiaries, or people who are on the program. We want to talk about households. Um, so to qualify, talking about households, right? Head of households, income earners do not have to be the qualifying individual. So as we talked about earlier, like participation in free reduced school lunch program may mean your child is the qualifying individual of your household. Um, when you apply, and we're going to talk about applying at the end of this discussion, right? You'll have to answer questions and sometimes provide um, documentation for whoever the qualifying member of the household is, etc. And separately, there's going to be a household worksheet at the USAC website, Universal Service Administrative Company, who runs the enrollment management, and disbursement of funds for EBB, USAC. Please also remember that name. We'll be talking about them a lot during this conversation. So again, as I talked about there's multi-unit dwellings. So there are all kinds of different ways where households, there are different versions of households in a multi-unit dwelling, and also different ways that the building itself may get broadband, right? It might be individual households all have a bill from whoever, Cox, Verizon, or whatever. There are some buildings by which the manager has put the broadband into each dwelling and then charges the household for that, in which case we would advise the manager to engage with USAC on how to get the EBB for their individual residents. So we are going to open EBB enrollment on March 12th. Again, I just want to stress that this is not a permanent program. It is a program that Congress developed as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So after March 12th enrollment, the program will last as long as the $3.2 billion lasts, or 6 months after the Department of Health and Human Services declares the COVID-19 pandemic is over, whichever comes first. As I'd mentioned previously, USAC, the Universal Service Administrative Company, is the FCC's sort of executive agent. That's not used in a legal term in case there are lawyers here, but just sort of the guys who do it for us, to administer the Lifeline program and now EBB. And so the online application portal will be getemergencybroadband.org. That is a suite of pages that USAC has stood up, and it's live now with some decently good outreach materials and information. The only thing not live is the application portal, which goes live again on May 12th. So there are some consumer protections built in to the program itself. A number of them we want to highlight here. So the participating providers, whoever you sign up with, they have to give you notice as to when the last day of the full benefit will apply to their bill. They will track either the pot of money at USAC, the $3.2 billion, or will know based on 6 months after the HHS declares the end of pandemic. Separately, they cannot automatically roll over your EBB plan. If you're signing up for a new EBB plan, they cannot roll you over into a non-supported price point. The consumer has to physically opt in to say, okay, EBB's done. I consent to maintain my participation in this program without EBB at this price point. So those consumer protections are meant to keep people from accidentally rolling over into a higher price point without notice, and then that impacts the bill. So for on the provider side of the house, right, the EBB program comes in multiple flavors. So it comes with EBB can support like fixed broadband services, cable, fiber optic, DSL, fixed wireless, and mobile, which is like your mobile device on burning internet. Um, so we have a link at fcc.gov /broadband benefit, one word. So that's sort of the FCC's information hub by which there will be a lot of different links out to specific purposes. And from the broadband benefit page of FCC, you'll be able to see click out to a page that lists broadband benefit providers that have been approved by the FCC to participate in this program, and they are segregated by state. And so I also want you to kind of capture this in your head, because we'll be talking about this as we talk about sort of how you can help spread word down to the grassroots. For people, I know we're a multi-state group here, right? So for people who are in whatever state, right, if you message to them that that's how they can find their provider, they can click Arizona and they'll find all of the EBB providers by name. And more importantly, they'll have a row, checked or unchecked, blue check mark or not, of those providers who are participating in the equipment distribution program, that $100 sort of subsidy for a laptop, tablet, or desktop. If you kick in some money, not everyone's doing that, but at least you'll be able to identify which ones were. This may be really helpful if you think about the parent with multiple kids who are trying to navigate school, right? Even though school's over, school will continue. And you got two kids and you only got one computer, right? And how are you going to get this done? Or if you have a household where you have a couple of people who are working, but they need to log in for the shifts because they're working shift work, or somebody's working at home in some sort of 8 hour a day job on their computer, and someone else needs to apply for a job. And nowadays, job applications are only online, right? So that's sort of where sort of the demographic um, may want to participate in equipment distribution program offerings. So we want you to be aware, again, that that's not everybody who has signed up. And so the way to find out is to get on the listings by state. So there are 3 ways to enroll right now. Contact a participating broadband provider directly. And again, you get their names from that list by state. And they can enroll you directly. If you go down to the Sprint store, there is actually no Sprint really, and I'm showing my age because I have a Sprint phone, but whatever, the Verizon store or whatever, and then those people will help you out. You can get on to the USAC website, which is getemergencybroadband.org, beginning on May 12th, and there will be a link for the online application process. And then you can send in a mail paper application with your proof of eligibility that you like copies of your unemployment benefit or your layoff notice, furlough notice, or whatever. You get the paper application from either the USAC website, which is getemergencybroadband.org, where you can just download it, or ask them. I'm going to give you their phone number if you don't have internet now. I'm going to give you their phone number at the end of this presentation, where you can just call, and one of their telephone operators will mail you the paper application. So let's kind of work through this and just real quickly on how to enroll by a provider. Again, get the name of providers in your state who are participating at broadband benefit, fcc.gov broadband benefit. The provider can assist you in helping fill out either the online application there in site or the paper application, but they can't sign it. You still have to participate. You can't delegate everything to them. There are some service providers who have sort of a alternate FCC approval process for like Lifeline, and we'll keep that process there as well, and that'll be perfectly okay in case you run into someone who's doing that. Online, visit getemergencybroadband.org. The How to Apply button will be live on May 12th. Um, for people who are already on Lifeline, it should be really, really quick. Most people on Lifeline are there not because of the 125 of poverty rate laws, but because of participation in public assistance programs like SNAP. So those things get automatically sort of coordinated on the back end, so applications is approved quickly. And by mail, as we talked about, there is you're going to get the paper application from USAC by phone, by internet, or via a participating provider, and mail it to London, Kentucky. And then one thing we do want navigators and advocates in the field or at state level or the field to really focus on are people who are new to sort of this space, and make sure that they know that there may be some sort of proof of qualification requirement that's done either scanned or scanned, copied, or some similar sort of way, particularly when they're qualifying based on things that are maybe not necessarily automatic in any government system that we can kind of coordinate with, systems can coordinate with, like a layoff notice to qualify because you've been laid off. So getemergencybroadband.org /how-to-apply /show-use-qualify. Yeah, that's sort of a specific page to ready the consumer, now that we still have about a week left before we open enrollment, to get their stuff together to make sure that they're able to qualify quickly and take advantage of the program quickly and not leave essentially discounts on the table. So separately, I want to focus all of our allies and all of our state people onto the Outreach Toolkit, which is available at a link at fcc.gov/broadband-benefit. So the toolkit is a collection of social media, printables, and other tools to assist you and the people who answer to you or work with you down at even closer to the grassroots level to spread the word about the emergency broadband benefit. The tools are in the public domain. So when we talk about what they are, they're editable. Add your contact information or your partners or your people's contact information, their logos, their phone numbers to that. Co-brand that if you want. By all means, we just want to get it out into the public to build awareness and build enrollment. So they come in 3 buckets. Nowadays, social media is sort of the way things happen, right? They involve things like logos to help brand the information that go forward down at the field level. There's a collection of social media images that are branded with that logo and with messaging, sort of like ready for an Instagram story campaign that, again, you could throw your logo on. There are draft social media posts, including draft tweets, draft Facebook postings, and a draft newsletter insert that's perfect for you to drop into your outbound monthly communications or whatever internal messaging you have to membership. And there's a draft press release from the FCC and whoever would like to kind of join us. And so that is perfectly ready for you to add your name or partners' names down at the grassroots level, their logos to be pushed out into the public space. There are a number of printables that are ready. And again, in electronic format, they're ready for you to add logos and your name. There's a fact sheet, there are flyers, there's a 9x5 information card and a 1/4-page handout and a poster and infographic. Some of these come 2-sided, some of these come 1-sided, and the 1-sided ones are 1-sided on purpose to allow partners to be able to put contact information, their own paragraph or 2 messaging, or hey, the partners are going to hold our own Zoom call or what are other things that we can do. So by all means, take advantage of the malleability of these Outreach Toolkit materials. And then separately on the Outreach Toolkit site, we are getting ready to tee up a number of videos, and including one in American Sign Language, an overview video, a how to apply video. We have posted now and live an audio public service announcement in English and Spanish, and one specifically targeted to our friends in Indian country, because Indian country has a different benefit. And then we have posted today a PowerPoint deck, which is kind of this PowerPoint deck, to help you talk to your people. And again, where you see the FCC logo up here in the upper left-hand corner, not sure which is the right one, throw your logo up there as well by all means. So these are the social media things I talked about. The pictures to the right, ready for an Instagram story, are, this is just a portion of them. There's like 16 of them, just to let you know what they look like. We have printables. These are poster-sized things that are ready to hit a poster. Everything but this poster on the printables is also available to print in grayscale and easily printed on your home or office printer as well. And then this is the list of PSAs. This is April Jackson in our screen, our ASL video interpreter. We plan to launch the videos really soon, but the radio PSAs and the PowerPoint slide decks are live. We understand that in the world, there are people who need special work on access, and we're trying to be sensitive to that. We're translating a number of our documents into the translated language you see on the left-hand side there, and it's ready now for download at the Outreach Toolkit site. That's the fact sheet, the 9.9 by 5 info cards and the quarter page handout. These are the things I translated. Separately, for those people who need special access because they may be blind or visually impaired, by sending an email to fcc504@fcc.gov, we can print on demand, braille, or send large print or audio file to people directly one-on-one by request. So these are the links that, again, I'm going to send to Lisa this PowerPoint deck so you can have it. So don't have to write feverishly. But the consumer page, which is fcc.gov broadband benefit, is sort of the host page for all the other links you can link to. That second link is for the broadband providers by state, by which we'd like you to message to your folks who work in your orbit. It's the place to start for consumers to find out who's offering EBB where they live. A fact to help people answer questions, which I don't know yet, we don't know yet, is there at the third bullet. And the fourth bullet, that 833 number is USAC's call center. And remember, USAC and their website, getemergencybroadband.org, are where consumers will be enrolling electronically, should they enroll electronically. So we really think would like consumers, if they have questions, to just go straight to the source on enrollment questions, because that's the people who are going to enroll. So I know I talk fast. I know there are a lot of questions. I'm trying to stick to time. So that was my used car salesman speed pitch for the EBB. I do encourage us to sort of find the rhythm and opportunity offline from this presentation to kind of work together. I'm available to answer questions if you think about them later. Send them to outreach@fcc.gov. That's my division's email address, and one of my folks will either send it to me or they'll triage it. With that, that concludes my fast speed pitch. I'm happy to take questions in however format we're going to do this, and let me unshare my screen now.
Okay, so I will jump back in. Wow, that was a wonderful presentation. You just spoke about and showed us in 15 minutes what we've been dreaming about for 11 months. So thank you so much. I mean, just to see all the work that's being done by the FCC. So I'm going to start with a question, then I'm going to hand it over to Paul, and then we'll let him, he's been monitoring the questions in the chat. So then he'll call on the different people in the chat. So the first question is kind of from all of us. What are the greatest challenges you're facing in your efforts to engage national, regional, and grassroots partners in support of building consumer awareness and action on matters with your policy work? Like, we're interested in this, but what challenges, how are you getting this done?
So our strategy has been, I'm not speaking as a commissioner, as a commission whole. I'm speaking as chief of the Consumer Affairs and Outreach Division now, which is really sort of my small part of navigating the Mississippi River. We've been engaging everyone we can, to be honest, and on something as big as EBB, only now does it bring into stark relief just how big and diverse this country is. Because I've got my entire division on speaking gigs, and it's like one after the other. But this is what we live for, so appreciate it. I think, as opposed to making this a challenge sort of question, I'd like to turn this into an opportunity question. What we were looking for, and this is what I'd love to talk to you guys about. Each of you individually, at wherever state you are, you have your own people in your orbit, down at the grassroots level. So strategically, my division is trying to find ways and opportunities to eventually get this word down to the grassroots, down to the neighborhood, down to the PTA, down to the soccer team and chess team and Girl Scouts level, down to, I live in a small town called Cabin John, Maryland. There's a population about 1,500. So we have a newspaper, one poor person trying to put out copy and content for 1,500 of us, and comes in a little mimeograph sheet. That sheet is probably more credible in terms of your life and what you read than maybe the New York Times is on matters that, hit your kitchen pocketbook. And so whatever the human connection and connections are for that means of communication, love it. Would love for you all to energize your people, energize your neighborhoods, because our metric for success, I think, is not just awareness down across the grassroots of this large and diverse nation, but it's also take rates. It's take rates of people who could qualify for the EBB, who do qualify for the EBB. And so I would love for your assistance. Take a look at the Outreach Toolkit on the broadband, fcc.gov/broadband benefit page. Is a link there. Steal everything you can. Use just an email campaign if that's necessary. Use a talking campaign in line at the Piggly Wiggly or wherever you're at, or Safeway. But whatever marries the effective, in your view, the most effective means of activating navigators and activating ambassadors, we would really love your assistance. And thank you, Lisa, for the question.
So with that said, let me jump into it at a few levels here. Lyle, the first thing that we've been talking about is both the short thing, like these temporary actions you've just described, which is something we can easily support, and then the longer term thing of making sure that we go for universal broadband throughout the United States. At what level can we be most useful to you there in looking not only at the EBB, but the larger issue of universal broadband long term in this country?
Sorry. So thank you for that question. I am going to give sort of a answer that can only stay within the bounds of my mission, my authority, so sort of outreach and information. So I think staying engaged generally is really important. So you've heard from the acting chairwoman, Jessica Rosenworcel, and she's made her agenda really clear. I think in awareness of how the FCC works would be useful for everyone who wants to participate in the process. Uh, agency, independent regulatory agency, make our policy through rulemaking under the Administrative Procedure Act, by which, and if you all know this, just stop me because I don't know how to level set. All right, so by which the way we do it is we put out proposed rules and we offer uh, the public opportunity to comment on them, and then policymakers take a look at comments that are received from the public, and then develop rules sort of based on the public record. So I think sort of, and separately, I would offer this if you would like me to come back after the EBB rush is done and work through how to comment and the rulemaking procedures and whatever. I'm really happy to do that. Um, Separately, the chairwoman on Friday has released a proposed rules that we're working on. It's not finalized rules for the Emergency Connectivity Fund, which is $7.17 billion of additional funding for schools and libraries, which is sort of augmenting, but it's separate from the E-rate program, if that rings a bell to anybody. So take a look at that, which is online now at fcc.gov, and try to understand what the proposed rules say, so that you can see what's sort of in the FCC ecosystem. I'd recommend that. I'm talking too much, but I'm going to just end this with this. Just love the enthusiasm. I love that there's a desire to be sort of agents of change and working with the system and with a chairwoman's agenda. So maybe when I come back, I can sort of help you sort of channel that into sort of
That'd be very helpful. As you can tell from the faces you're seeing today and from what Lisa told you about the group, we think one of our strengths is that we've got educators all over the country who are looking at work and learning and long-term broadband. We noticed as we were looking at your own background and some of your expressed interest with your division that you're looking for speakers on webinars, at conferences and things like that. Can we be a resource to provide some of that for you from our own contacts?
Yeah, that'd be fine. I think for now, yes, fine. Temporary state, like for now, we're just overrun with EBB, so I can't. So until like May's done, I'm not sure we're answering any non-EBB email, and I want to apologize to you from that. But it's like my associate chief Kayla Hernandez Ochoa. She's like, we're having a meeting today, and she's like, I haven't checked email in like 3 days because we just got speaking tasks and other tasks. So if we could just time that so till the end of the EBB rush, I think that'd be great, but appreciate the offer.
When do you think that end of the EBB rush would actually be?
End of this month.
Oh,
May.
great. So we're not talking a long period of time then.
No, yeah.
Fantastic. There are several questions in the chat. Some of them overlap with some of our longstanding interests. I'm going to try to combine a few of them together. One of our members, Jim, asked, in addition to the discount available through EBB, does it do anything to make service available in communities where ISPs have been hesitant to build out their networks? And a follow-up from a couple of other people was, if somebody's not a provider now, how do they become a provider under EBB? So let's start with that first one. Does EBB do anything to make service available where ISPs have been hesitant?
So it's a subsidy program for existing services. I'm not sure it would last. The $3.2 billion would last if somebody where there's no fiber laid or whatever to get that done prior to that. I'm not even sure that would last that long. I lost the second question, but I thought it was really good. Let me see here. Could you repeat the second question, please?
The second one was about how somebody that's not a provider could get in, but I think you've just answered that, saying that there's not going to be enough time.
But if you are a provider and you do not you're not a Lifeline provider, but you want to participate in EBB, hey, it's a great way to introduce consumers into your network, and maybe, you can find means to, provide service. And if you're especially a local people, right? By all means, you're gonna hit the emergency broadband benefit page, hit FAQ, and then it'll send you to USAC, who has to vet you. And there's an application process, but it's not that hard because we got a whole bunch of providers gone through the system. Or you can just send them to me at outreach@fcc.gov, just individually, and I'll kind of steer them through that. I think the program is stronger as consumers have more choice, but that's not an FCC thing. That's just a Lyle thing. I don't want to get in trouble, right?
So to make sure I'm connecting that answer with the question that I'm seeing here, if providers want to provide equipment directly to qualified individuals, there are places on the website that they can go to.
Yep. And then if they can't find how to qualify to be an EBB provider, they're going to ping me. And
Okay.
I'll get them to that.
Thank you so much. Another question from Hannah, actually. Will the Spanish translation be rewritten? There are some problems with it right now. Are there plans to work on it, to refine it?
So I would love input on that. So our translations are done via contract, but here's the problem, right? We can't have two contracts at the taxpayer dollars, right? And essentially because we want to be careful with taxpayer dollars and put them more into public credit. So when you're only one sole contract deep, the guy comes and says, "Here's your Spanish translation," and I don't speak Spanish. I'm like, "Thank you." So what we have is, if you find problems with translation, I would love for anyone to ping me personally and say, "This is a problem," and we'll fix it based on that. Understanding though, because we went through this week with translation on, if the translation, whoever asked the question, is about enrollment and sign up and the word being wrong, we got that. That's in change now. But we ran into issues about Spanish being different between Spain and Dominican Republic and Chile. And so there may be specific words that may mean we might have to just sort of take the best, most people guess, and hope that people can figure out the context of it. Because I realized this after we're working on this week, there's no one size fits all on Spanish translations.
So bottom line for our community is anybody who's Spanish speaking can contact you directly to offer you some assistance on that.
Absolutely. And would be useful if they could download the page or screenshot, and just so I can refer to it, as opposed to saying, "Hey, Lyle, this document says this," then I gotta go search. And then that probably is kind of not great use of my time.
Thank you. On a different topic, Mark's asking, can you talk about the new to and through FCC E-rate capabilities, allowing schools and libraries to extend their E-rate subsidized broadband connectivity beyond their facilities to students and patrons? I know you mentioned a little bit. Could you give us a little more detail on that?
So for this one, I'm going to have to politely say that I'm not up to speed on that. I'm a comms guy, and so the policy guys are still working on it. I'm happy. I'll be in touch. Keep in touch with Lisa. I'm happy to do one of these for the Emergency Connectivity Fund once. But the rules are not even done yet, so that's a thing, right? So I don't want to even brief you on proposed rules that may change. But once the rules are done, I'm happy to come back and chat with you about that. Is that a cool thing? Okay. Sorry about the lack of answer on the original question.
We're just delighted you're here. It's part of our mandate, self-imposed mandate, mind you, that we're trying to build these connections and make sure that long-term we're doing what we can to make sure that universal broadband is a reality in this country. And we know we're in it for the long haul. We're glad to have people like you and Chairwoman Rosenforcel who are helping us out on that. Lisa, I'm still looking at the chat. Was there anything else that you wanted to bring up?
I think we pretty much covered what we can do. I mean, that toolkit, I think, is a really important thing. And really, not to be redundant, but a really important tool. And so this is our meeting. So I would just like to say for each of us, I know I just from listening, I'm inspired to, as I said, I live in an area with a large Haitian population. And I'm inspired to just go around and try to, even just with maybe a flyer. I didn't see if there was a flyer on the toolkit or not, but something that I can just hand out to neighbors. Because that was the first thing that struck me when I saw the EBB. I know you can call and people are given an opportunity to mail an application in, but it just seemed kind of funny that you apply for it online, but maybe the reason why you need it is because you don't have online access. So, but I understand that there are people helping those people who don't have online access. The only other question I had was, how do we, like, how do I find out who in my local community needs it? And I know the answer would be, well, write to your, ask your mayor, ask this government person, but they're not like you, Lyle. They don't get back to me in 1 or 2 days.
So
they tell you like a month later, and by then it'll be too late. You know what I mean? Like, how can I find this out? Do you have any suggestions of finding out where our pockets are of people who are really in need?
So I think let's define need, right? The need is for people who qualify for Lifeline, which is an income, sort of low income support program. So that would be based on your social geography that you'd know based on where you live, or your people would know based on where you live. And then separately, I think because the second group that would benefit from EBB would be those who have experienced sort of a job loss because of COVID, right? So people who are in specific industries, I think, may be sort of a target, right? Because we all know that, if you're in the restaurant industry and you're a server, you know that restaurants, particularly during COVID, may have had a hard time surviving. I mean, not have survived. And so maybe if you know an area where restaurant town or whatever, that may be an idea. I really love the poster idea, right? So sometimes the lowest tech ideas can get the best bang for the buck in terms of effort and eyes you reach. The poster comes in Spanish for Haitians. So just printing and sticking it on laundry rooms of apartment buildings, sticking it on sort of the share bulletin boards of community centers, or my team is working with DC area food banks to be able to put them into their packages when they deliver food to seniors and people who are low income. So sort of those sorts of means help target your effort. Yeah, I'm from Hawaii, so it's a tourist state. There was no tourism for like 9 months, so I feel like almost the entire state could sort of qualify for the.
You just mentioned the food banks as one group, and Jim in chat was asking a related question about, does the FCC work directly or indirectly with next door groups throughout the country?
Yeah, not fully, not sort of like as a baked-in business process. For this, yes, we're reaching out to everybody. It's an all hands on deck thing. We're worried about sort of we can only do so much with our staffing for business process, and so we have to stick with, to be honest, numbers for our effort. So when we work with sort of on a routine basis, you'll catch us with AARPs because their numbers are big, or sort of Operation Hope and NAACP and LULAC. So
got it. There was a clarification from Arlene on one of the earlier questions. She really was trying to get to, is there also information on the website about how to become an equipment provider?
That would be, you cannot just be an equipment provider, I believe. I think you have to be an EBB provider, and equipment is an option. But I would shoot your carrier, or if Arlene's a carrier, shoot me a note and I'll connect you up with USAC, the policy people who grant folks who are eligible to be providers. I'll connect the two up to you up, and then we'll find out if there's a way.
Great. Arlene has been a real broadband champion and actually got an award for that a few years back on the Central California coast. And she's doing wonderful projects down in the Monterey and Carmel areas, providing equipment to people that don't have broadband and helping them out at that level. So I'm sure she's happy to hear that answer, and we'll be doing some follow-up with you directly on that.
Perfect.
There are so many questions here, and I don't want to keep you too long. Bottom line on this, we've heard you talk about EBB, and we've talked a little bit about the long-term thing of being involved. What have we not asked you that you expect to be asked at a session like this, so that we make best use of your time and you are able to take advantage of the resources we can offer you?
That's a really great question. And just for information, when I interview people for my division who takes jobs, that's like my last question for people for job interviews. I don't know about a question, but I would love, and I feel like there's a commitment. So I just want this understanding that this is not the last time we're going to talk. That in fact, I would love to we have a cadre of people who are sort of core neighborhood ambassadors, influencers, both in social media, but also in real life influencers, right? Would love to make that happen. We have a monthly call with these sort of core partners, Zoom call, that by which we'd like to invite you to enroll by sending me a note, and I'll get you on the list. It provides you a view of what's going on the consumer side of the FCC. So we're going to monthly talk to you about what's going on consumer side. Separately, among our small cadre of trusted allies, we'll randomly take one of you all and also give you the podium for 5 or 10 minutes to talk to the other colleagues so you can share what's going on with you. That's a really good way. I think in the space you want to work with the FCC, then let's work with the FCC and let's work with you. And so let's build this relationship close so that we're able to sort of communicate well and sort of leverage your enthusiasm and your commitment to the betterment of commission rulemaking and commission action. That's fair.
Sounds wonderful. Our challenge for everybody on this call that's part of our weekly group is, if you would like to be the official contact for those monthly meetings, let Lisa, Laura, or me know so that we're not just the same three of us attending all these meetings. And Lyle, from your side, we always make this invitation. If what we're doing appeals to you, these are weekly meetings held at the same time. They're generally an hour, oftentimes very focused on doing one thing that's concrete to finish it off. You're welcome to join us anytime you want to come in so that we can keep the conversation going.
I'd love that after EBB season's done at the end of this month. But
everybody mark your calendars. He's got 3 weeks of freedom and then we're all over him again. Lisa, Laura, you want to do a wrap on this?
Yeah, just thank you so much. And I love this because I feel like it's going to be a relationship now. And that's a really good thing, because we will continue to contact you after your time. And I'm sure everybody feels like I do. Thank you so much. We know so much more than we did an hour ago, and we're just so inspired to do so much work with you. Laura, did you have anything else?
No, just to echo the thanks of the group. Thank you so much for joining us today and for the future conversations.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. And again, we're not going to be strangers. We're going to work together for better outcomes for consumers in the future. And so we're going to take your energy and your commitment, and we're going to put it to work for the benefit of everyone. Okay.
Thank
Love
you.
it. Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon and evening wherever you are.
You too. Thanks so
You
much.
too.
Thanks, Lyle.
Thank you.